How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Hope you're all having a great day or night whenever you open this video up. Because you see, as of late, I found my most favorite rabbit hole, which is retards not understanding RPGs. Because not long after I made my Otaku Daikun video on that Baldur's Gate 3 controversy, I found someone who made a surprisingly even worse video on it. And the best way I can describe this remnant bitch right here is he's a mixture of weeb cringe, JTech TV, and fucking outdated fucking videos. Just in general. Now if that mixture already doesn't excite you, then the fact that he's a liar might ought to do the trick.
You know, it's pretty funny because this game apparently has such a robust character creation, all these RPG mechanics that it has, that it gives to the player, but I can't change my height on the character.
What a fucking liar, dude. What a fucking Weasley little liar, dude. What a fucking Weasley little liar, dude. Holy shit, dude.
Excuse me.
Holy
Sorry.
fucking
I'm out of
shit,
control.
dude.
I apologize for that.
Literally lying. Still lying to his audience.
But as you read from the title, I'm not here to talk about Baldur's Gate 3 that much right now. Instead, we're here to talk about him defending Heelvsbabyface on Starfield and his little rant about wokeness in Starfield. Now, I've only played a little bit of Starfield, but even with that little bit, I can safely say that there's way worse issues than any woke shit you might find later on in the game. None of which are going to be addressed here today, because instead this guy decided to make a defense on Heelvsbabyface, but yet barely even mention him. Outside of the 3 fucking minutes in the intro, that are nothing but Heelvsbabyface and Ripiverse. That's right, these first 3 minutes is absolutely nothing but fluff here. So let's skip past that and get right into the video.
And you wonder why people are getting so fucking sick and tired. You take everything we love, all our emotions, all our fantasies, all our escapism, and you just can't help shovel your dog shit, fucking crap ideology into everything, every single solitary fucking thing.
Okay, I know I said I would skip past the fluff in the intro, but at the same time, that clip right there, it's fucking hilarious with this cue ball screaming and yelling. Especially with this title of how he apparently did nothing wrong, yet he's setting off car alarms in the background with all that screaming over pronouns in a video game.
Sorry, did you want to get immersed in our world? Yeah, well, guess what? Fucking pronouns! Fucking gender ambiguity! Fucking current day Californian shit! Because that's all we fucking know! Because we're boring! We're so fucking boring!
Like, yeah, this is what you're gonna white knight for? Okay, buddy, let's see how far you can go.
So let me get this straight. People can make videos ranting about things like microtransactions, season passes, games as a service, studios shutting down, crunch time, lazy ports, price increases, console versus PC, delayed games, and broken games, but other people ranting about pronouns and other forms of propaganda in a game is a problem?
Well, yeah, it's like in most of those examples you just provided, there's an actual problem to be discussed there. Pronouns, on the other hand, is not a problem at all. For an RPG especially, considering the only purpose those pronouns serve is for the text generator to work properly for the exact experience the player wants. And if you don't want the male pronouns, you get the female. If you don't want that, you get the male. If you don't want either of those, you get they, them. And you can even argue there's an in-universe reason for why they would use they, them when there's alien DNA you can add into your character, making them not standard humans. Wow, it's almost like this is such an easy thing to solve that it doesn't need to be ranted about, unlike the majority of the other things you just listed. So nice job with this false equivalence.
Keep in mind that in Starfield, you can have a male or female character. Oh wait, I'm sorry. You can have body type A and body type B have he, him, she, her, or they, them pronouns. Funny because if trans people really believed they were the sex they thought they were, then male and female options should be fine.
Wow, it's almost like those options are there for that reason specifically. And the whole they-them option is there purely for those who don't want that specific story. Because, you know, like most RPGs, you make your own story that's crafted in this world by the developers. So, you know, it's just an extra option in case. I know, how dare a game have more content in it?
If you are trying to damage control this delusional lunacy and think anti-woke people are the ones who need to seek help, then you must be playing Starfield in a padded cell next to a bottle of Risperidon.
You know, prior to this, I had no idea what Risperidon is. I thought it was a fucking Pokemon, up until I googled and found it's one of the most common chemicals used to treat schizophrenia. Oddly specific that he would know what that is. But as for the rest of his comment about how anti-woke people need to go get help, I've had this discussion a few times already, and yes, those people really do need to seek help if this is their biggest problem in the game. It is the most first world problem ever, when like I said, the solution is just selecting the male option or the female option. Problem solved.
You know gaming's not the shit. People are out here finding ways to defend current day Bethesda. And for what? A glorified last-gen Fallout 4 space, powered by a run-down fossil engine that can barely hold itself together like Joe Biden walking up the stairs. This woke ideological crap is something that's not exclusive to gaming, but other forms of entertainment, society included, and is being pushed as no big deal. And apparently these people don't like to hear shouting from someone who is passionate about an issue they care about.
It's almost like people can see how much of an overreaction this is and how stupid it is, and they're just laughing at that. But no, it couldn't be that at all.
Hopefully these same individuals don't like guys like Angry Joe.
I don't. I personally haven't watched Joe since like 2018 when he had his shit take on Battlefield 5. And that was it. That was when I was done with him. Plus, he was never really that funny.
We're really going to pretend that none of this nonsense has been pushed in media for years?
It's not that we're pretending it hasn't been pushed, it's that it's not that big of a deal. Especially when being done in RPGs where you can create your own character for your own story like this. Now, it would be a completely different discussion if you were getting into another story where you're just following along a set path already, but then out of nowhere it decides to stop and just start preaching to you about modern day shit. Then sure, I could understand that. That isn't the case with Starfield though, especially in the character creation screen, dumbass.
We're also going to pretend it's always anti-woke people complaining when there's no shortage of evidence featuring leftist weirdos having mental breakdowns over trivial shit.
By that same logic, when we have anti-SJWs having a mental breakdown over the most trivial shit as pronouns in a video game, suddenly gonna sweep that under the rug? Interesting. Almost like this door swings both ways. Anywho, I'm gonna skip over this next chunk of the video, because all he does is bring up things that left-wing extremists have done over the years, such as burning books and breaking down statues and all this other shit that has literally nothing to do with Starfield. And no, I'm not gonna deny that it exists.
It's no surprise that the woke mob is defending Starfield and its obvious ESG pandering bullshit. It's also not surprising to see Bethesda apologists defend Starfield. And it's definitely not surprising to see both groups going after Heelvsbabyface and anyone else who echoes his thoughts.
Just want to put this for the record, it's taken him roughly half the length of his video in order to get to where we are now, and we're now finally talking about Heelvsbabyface in the whole situation. Should say something about how unfocused this motherfucker is. But as for his comments about how there's woke shit in the games, and ESG pandering nonsense, whatever the fuck that is, no shit, people are gonna be like, okay, what's your big deal when all those things is just there. That's it. Oh no, how dare a space game be populated? It should be a barren wasteland with nobody but yourself and your robots in it. Totally. And as for them coming after Heelvsbabyface, literally everyone is, because everyone sees this as a fucking man-child having an autistic temper tantrum over text in a video game. Of course we're gonna laugh at that when he's getting this visibly triggered over it, because it's funny.
But what's baffling is to see individuals who claim they are against the woke nonsense both unintentionally and intentionally join the woke mob and the Bethesda apologists and try to shame Az from Heelvsbabyface for his opinion on Starfield.
It's not even that they were shaming an opinion, it's that they were laughing at a literal man-child having a spurg session over text. That's funny no matter who you are and what your politics are, not to mention very pathetic.
Apparently Az's delivery was not the correct way to go about the issue, because talking nicely about these issues with these people always goes well, right?
Or they aren't issues in the first place and it's just an overreaction that people want to laugh at, especially when he not only doubles down on it, but triples down on it with really stupid comparisons, like claiming the Act Man was hypocritical for jumping in on this when he was supposedly canceled over an opinion fairly recently, when that wasn't the case whatsoever.
By the way, this person recently being cancelled, having his YouTube channel demonetized / pulled down because he was attacked for having an opinion about something and exercising his right to do so.
My god, that video was retarded.
Pretending that just snickering and laughing at the woke corporations, but still supporting them by buying their products and enjoying them does nothing to help combat the propagandist far left ideologies. But it gets better. According to some, pronouns in Starfield is not a big deal.
It literally isn't. Like I said, it's an RPG where you're making your own story within the world. If you want to make it as a man, you can make it as a man. If you want to make it as a woman, you can make it as a woman. And there's even the alien DNA shit in there so you can go all weird and go they, them. How dare the game give you options like that in order to roleplay properly? Most importantly, your pronouns do not come up ever again in the game, beyond the character creation. Like, as far as I'm aware, you get no special privilege or special ending depending on what pronouns you have. It'd be fucking stupid if they did. Like, I've not heard one cogent argument as to why this is somehow an issue in the game. Mainly because there are none.
Because surely it starts and ends with the pronouns and the character creator, right? The naivety so many people have with this topic is pitiful. I'm assuming some of these individuals have been living under a rock for about a decade, or are choosing willful ignorance in the name of their addictions to entertainment and media. Read the room. It's not hard to see the clown world we are living in.
No, it isn't that hard to see the clown world we're living in, when we have a literal cue ball over here getting upset over text in a video game, or people like you claiming people are too addicted to media. Like, bro, you take this shit way too fucking seriously. And in the end, it makes you part of the fucking circus.
Listen, I know I should have been more forthcoming about who I was earlier.
Yes?
So, in the interest of full disclosure, there's one more thing you ought to know before we head up there.
You're a dude.
My relationship with the UC. It's more complicated than it might seem at first glance.
Uh-huh.
The UC's actually the only reason I'm here in the first place.
Yeah.
I am a clone of a man named Francois Sanon, one-time fleet admiral of the UC during the Colony War, former head of the UC.
Bruh, I fucking can't. Every time with the guts music and that fucking face he makes right there, like, now we get it. He's not upset over the game. He's upset because he finally understands he's killed so many dogs' eardrums with all his screaming over pronouns. That's what I'm going with. That would be a much more legitimate reason to be upset like this and having your face in your hands like this. So tell you what, guys, 1 like on this video equals 1 prayer for those doggies.
In case anyone wasn't aware, Starfield has more woke nonsense besides pronouns. And you don't have to play the game to find that out.
Actually, you kinda do. This isn't a case like the Saints Row reboot where that shit was plastered all over the trailers and all over the cover art. And it's really telling when their only example of woke shit is pronouns. And this one character who explains that no, they're not a trans person, but basic genetic editing. You know, a common sci-fi thing. So yeah, I'm waiting on this woke shit that's supposedly all over Starfield, because it's not really showing itself yet. Therefore, it isn't really a problem.
There's clips on social media that will show you. And this was what actually set Az off. He was several hours into the game before he did his rant. His reaction was justified, because like him, we're tired of all this bullshit.
Oh fuck, here we go with more of the synthetic man juice here, complaining over the gender-neutral bathroom sign in a utilitarian ship like this. How dare the game have these very tiny textures in it? Oh no, such a tragedy. If only you could solve it by just turning the camera away.
You may not care or pretend to care when it's convenient, but the rest of us notice it, and it's gotten so blatantly obvious that Stevie Wonder can see it. This isn't about side versus side.
He says while consciously making it side versus side, by lumping the people who are defending this Starfield nonsense in with the same left-wing extremists.
Ironic.
This is about understanding how companies under the behest of ESG investors are trying to normalize gender and identity politics through these games and movies.
I know, how dare these companies want to try and be more inclusive and get more money out of people? It's not like that's their entire point for existing in the first place. Such a tragedy that they do it in a way that doesn't preach to you.
To suggest we ignore the blatant left-wing propaganda plaguing entertainment and society is foolish.
Words cannot express how much I wish I recorded myself in VC when I first watched this shit with my friends. Because we jump from talking about left-wing influences over media with images of Mortal Kombat of all things, you know, the series that empowers literally everyone, whether you're black, woman, whatever, and then jump into whatever this fucking abortion is. Of course, with Netflix tags on the side of it too.
Then I suppose you'll have a beautiful baby boy to look forward to.
Like, holy shit. This, yeah, I'd call it out all the same, because it's a fucking eyesore for one, but just everything else surrounding it gets worse the longer you look at it. Like these fucking weird black boxes around the text like this, like, holy shit, it's so fucking bad. And I don't get what it has to do with Starfield, but I mean, holy shit, thanks for the laughs, I guess. I mean, there's something there.
Thinking all of this nonsense will eventually go away because of how nonsensical it is shows how little people understand the bigger picture.
Yeah, or people just realize it's not that big of a deal that things like black people and women are in media like this. especially when it's done in a very non-preachy way like this. Like it or not, diversity shit like this is here to stay. All that matters is you call it the extremely preachy shit and let it fail and flop.
All this bullshit doesn't just disappear. If any of by comedy and unconsciously citing the monster does not make all this go away. It does the opposite. It keeps this nonsense going on, making it hard to get rid of. Plenty of nonsense gets traction if it becomes normalized, because to the corporations like BlackRock pushing this stuff, it's not about morality or justice for any groups in particular. It ultimately comes down to how useful will the ensuing chaos and societal breakdowns be to their agendas.
Oh my fucking god. Alex Jones finally has a bit of competition in these fucking conspiracy theorists right here. Cause no shit, the companies and corporations don't care about the morality of your fucking precious diversity or anything like that. They care about one thing and one thing only: making money. What a novel concept, I know.
We want normalcy back, in society and in entertainment.
If that was the case, you'd be laughing at the absolute ass clown that Azzy made himself into with that whole rant over pronouns. Nothing about that was normal, and it screams first world problems.
Escapism has been under attack for years by woke hacks that want to condition people to act and think a certain way, pandering and virtue signaling to smooth brains out there.
Yep, and people call it out when it's egregiously preachy like this. But when something is naturally woven into the story like the things in Starfield are so far, then it really isn't an issue at all. But more importantly, if you're conditioned into thinking a certain way just because your media tells you to, then that's entirely on you for being so intellectually frail.
And having laws to cancel people because some have big companies promoting social engineering, radical far-left ideologies to masses, from schools, jobs, public events, television, films, comics, and video games. To those who gleefully feed into the woke slop from ESG-funded companies, perhaps you could take the time to really listen to what someone on the opposite spectrum has to say about these topics.
I mean, it's hard when those people sound like this.
Fucking pronouns! Fucking gender ambiguity! Fucking current day Californian shit!
But more importantly, people act like as soon as you respond and listen to those people and debate their points, that you're somehow attacking them or you're sniping their dog because you dared to call them out on their stupid bullshit. So if you want people to listen, how about you listen yourself when we actually do?
It doesn't have to be me. There's plenty of people out there saying what needs to be said and who actually understand it and aren't taking the easy route by choosing to accept and do what these goblin-like mobs want you to do and follow whatever the current narrative is. You might understand why things like pronouns is in fact a real issue that can manifest into something damaging, just like many other things have over the years.
Like I said, I've been listening and there's not been one cogent argument. And this screenshot you're showing right now is probably the best example of someone making absolute mountains out of a molehill. And this has come from someone who hasn't seen either of the Spider-Verse movies yet. But this trans flag in the background that has a whopping 2 seconds of screen time is absolutely not an issue. And it's yet another example of people overreacting over basic fucking Easter eggs like this. More importantly, it has nothing to do with pronouns in particular. But you know what? I'm not even going to question your god-awful editing when this was an example you decided to provide.
And to those who claim to be against the woke nonsense, I guess some of you guys want to play the shiny new thing and find enjoyment out of it. But you do know you can take time out of white knighting for a product and speak out against the woke shit.
Well, no fucking shit!
Instead of desperately trying to find an issue with what someone said about an obvious woke game that screams last gen.
Believe me, I did not have to try to find any issues with what Heelvsbabyface was saying. That rant was just fucking stupid all around and hilarious to listen to. But even more hilarious to listen to the people breaking it down why he's wrong.
Made by a company that quite frankly has been on the decline for years.
Have they now? Last I checked, Bethesda was one of the golden boys as far as companies go. Save for maybe the extremist PlayStation fanboys who want to bitch and moan over the fact they're now owned by Microsoft. Like outside of a few scant examples like the paid mod fiasco or fucking Fallout 76's launch, Bethesda is actually pretty alright. But apparently they've been in the decline for years according to this guy.
It's fine if you like the game, but don't leave your morality behind once you finally get your hands on the next product in your trough.
Morality plays no part in the products I buy whatsoever. And it's fucking stupid to make this argument when the consoles you're playing these games on or the computer you're making this dog shit video on was only possible thanks to the child labor that made them. The only thing that matters is how much quality it has in my subjective opinion and literally nothing else.
But keep in mind, it's not going to get better as long as these companies keep getting your money in time. In fact, the quality of the game or media you're consuming is irrelevant, because the ability to say no and not have fear of missing out for the sake of caring about the direction society is taking is much more important.
Yes, hello? What are the symptoms of brain damage? Okay, yeah, I think this guy definitely has it then.
My guy, I can pull the crystal ball out of my ass and guarantee you, society is not going to drastically change just because people play Starfield and have fun, or any other game for that matter that happens to have a very tiny amount of woke shit, whatever that even means these days. Since the term gets thrown around to literally everything that happens to have a woman or a black in it. Like, society is not going to drastically change like this just because it's in the fucking media. There are far bigger and far more pressing issues you can take care of without ruining video games while you're at it.
And no amount of coping, self-delusion, or mental gymnastics for the sake of some piece of plastic will change that.
See my previous response because I can take every word you just said and spit it right back at you.
Modern gaming fucking sucks.
He says in what's arguably been one of the best years for video games since 2017, but sure, modern gaming is just so bad. I mean, it has to be. It says so in the Reddit hive mind, and I would never look beyond that.
Because of the constant slop we keep getting served. Escapism is looking bleak.
You gotta love how example of slop we keep getting served came out 3 fucking years ago. Let The Last of Us 2 die already. Holy shit. But if your escapism gets ruined because of a few very bad examples, boo fucking who, that's on you and how mentally frail you are.
With people from all sides trying to convince us that it's fine and not a big deal.
Okay, I know not long ago I said I wouldn't question his editing too much, but what the fuck, man? What is with this frame rate on this footage? Especially when he's already played it before and it wasn't this choppy. What the fuck? It's now down to single digits. And no, I'm not going to repeat myself. It's not that big of a deal, and I've drilled that in plenty.
Some people will say that some of the anti-woke products are also bad, and I agree, there are some poor products from both sides in general. However, that point is irrelevant. I don't care if the game is a 10 out of 10 masterpiece in terms of gameplay. If there are woke ideologies being pushed in them, the most powerful thing you can do is say no.
No, the most powerful thing you can do is not buy it. Simple as. Case in point with that Saints Row reboot. No one bought it, the company that made it is now going bankrupt. But you gotta love how he's straight up admit there's some bad actions taken by the anti-woke crowd, and yet he's gonna do nothing about it and how it's irrelevant. In other words, he's gonna finger his ears and scream la 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 la. Cause you know, someone who's mentally stable and mentally mature, that's definitely what they do.
Because if you can't say no, then you're at the mercy of whatever these corporations want to subject and condition you with.
Or you're just being retarded and thinking that you saying no is going to have any impact whatsoever on these multi-billion-dollar corporations. And if you're that mentally frail that you go along with the company just because they say so, then that's again a very serious problem with you, first and foremost.
And to the people who claim that they're against wokeness but make excuses for these products, you become the exact thing you go against, a corporate slave. While not realizing that those trying to control the conversation are just ensuring a dystopian future where what you are allowed to think and say is bought, tagged, and paid for.
Again with the fucking Alex Jones level conspiracies. Holy shit. I can't deal with this shit no more. Holy shit. But you all heard it here first and foremost, folks. If you dare to make exceptions, and if you dare to say, maybe this isn't as bad as people are saying, you're just a corporate slave and nothing else. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We live in a world of black and whites again. That's the moral of the story. You're either with this guy or you're against him. Like, holy shit, I think this takes the cake for the worst person I've seen covering this whole pronoun shit in Starfield, and the worst arguments I've heard in favor of it being a problem. So with that being said, I'm gonna go play the game just to piss people like this off. Would I recommend the same? The game is just for now. The performance is fucking awful. But that's a different discussion for another time. So with that being said, I'm going to call the video there. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did. Leave a dislike if you didn't. And boy oh boy, do I got more Starfield and Baldur's Gate content lined up. So I hope you enjoy that. But until I get around to that, I'll talk to y'all later.
The check's gonna be together or separate?
You gonna let me hit that tonight?
This is our first date.
It'll be separate.